this discussion mode, in this research paradigm shift, which has happened, you can say tremendously, what used to be and what's happening now. So before I start, also and show you something with the aspect of work which has to be done, how it has to be carried, what all problems we all faculty members and professors are facing. I mean, I'm using the word problems definitely because we are multitaskers here. And when I say we are multitaskers, every one of us have got some administrative role. Every one of us are teachers. And above all, every one of us are researchers too. Not only that, we are doing training as well. Now, many times it comes as a question mark also that you are doing multifaceted job, but research is something which is still left around. You're not able to fulfill or suffice the kind of research you're supposed to actually carry on. And the question comes as a bagging head on our head. Uh, how much should we do? How much should we actually go ahead with? Or what all scrolling are you want from each one of us? So here I want to bring a paradigm shift in the mindset of all of us, including me. I'm also in the same picture, nothing different out here. Actually, I'm also going through the similar constraints, the similar thoughts, the similar problems as you guys are at your institutes or at your organizations. So, but I'm trying to state that I'm going to start with you in talking with respect to that how we can multifaceted use our research with that particular interest of areas where we are supposed to actually go about. So I have a small presentation, but I do not believe much on the presentation. But despite of that, if you feel that there is something which you need, are you able to see the presentation, guys? Professors, are all of you? Is it visible?
No, ma'am.
Okay, 1 second. Just a minute.
Yes,
Then
ma'am, it's visible.
it's visible. Okay, wait, then let me put it again. Yeah, hope it is visible.
Yes.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. So when I'm stating this, the best part is I want to actually see you, but that will come up when I'll give you some initial framework of it. And then let me see that how am I bringing it to your thought process. So the first thing which I want to talk to each one of you is when I'm putting up this point as research problem and systematic review, then I'm trying to tell each one of you that how are we starting with it? And what are the problems are we facing here in starting, of course, with respect to the research problem, right? So for this, may I request each one of you to just, first of all, please mute yourself. We can discuss in meanwhile. I mean, as I said, I believe in open discussion. We would definitely be discussing about it. But for starting pointer, at least please mute yourself. Thank you. So when I'm talking about the agenda, then of course the agenda will be how to bring in high quality research from each one. What are the some empirical modeling of the strategy which we will be building here? Some strong research issues and questions we will be discussing on it. The methodology also will be discussing. And how to develop the research proposal with the help of systematic review. And I would expect each one of you to even work on it. And then finally, how are you crafting a paper and how are you revising your paper? So let's start with it. So when I'm stating this, 1 second, I think there's a small disturbance. I need to check from where it is coming. Yeah, thank you. So when I'm starting with it, there are three important aspects which are really, really important to state in terms of your research. One is, of course, your relevancy, your rigorous, and your impactful. So when I'm stating your relevancy, you need to see that how important and how interesting the managerial problem is for each one of you professors for your end of research. Now the question arises here When we are talking about this managerial problem, many times it comes in our mind that a managerial problem can be like I'm working in an organization and I found certain problem and I'm trying to get a particular solution out of that problem. The question is, we need to be smart enough in seeing here, is this the problem which is pertaining to an individual, or it is the problem which is a holistic problem for this faculty fraternity out here? So that relevancy has to be checked. Many times I have seen scholars going in depth into a problem which is a desk problem. And I'm sure for any desk problem, we are here to solve it on with discussions, with dissemination. So that is not as relevant for an higher quality research, and we need to restrict ourselves for that relevancy point. Similarly, the second relevancy has to be seen with academic problem also, an important academic problem also. So here also comes with our thought process with high quality research. And when we state this word high quality research is the again a student come back or a scholar come back and he discusses and talks about it that I have certain thought with changes of framework into the policy of what is happening in India right now, say e-commerce. All right. If you want to change some policy into e-commerce and you have some thoughts about it, how are you going to go? No, I have an observation and I know this is something which is not going great. So if you're saying you have an observation and it is not going great, how actually are you going to bring the rigorous amount of your intellectual level in high capacity into research, into this relevancy has a question mark. So the idea, when you're starting with your idea itself for bringing your problem is actually a problem. It's not an easy job. And your journey starts from here that if you're very relevant in bringing your problem, then only you will be able to conclude your research and will be able to bring the outcome of that. So rigorous is the second point, which you're talking about the most appropriate state of an art methods. And when we say that I have chosen one qualitative, one quantitative, or mixed method, I mean, good enough. Nothing beyond that. Everyone is doing the same thing. What's something new here? What are you trying to bring out of there? So here in the rigorous point of concern will come with our methodology. So what all methodology are we really choosing to go for conduction of relevant research problem? Then only we will say that we are going on a rigorous way. Otherwise, it is a normal project. Otherwise, it's a sort of an outcome where we are going to give the final summation in terms of a report, and that's good enough with mixture of some qualitative, mixture of some quantitative, and then some particular conclusion. Similarly, you need to also ensure a robustness of result through systematic checks. Generally it happens that there is a mismatch always between three aspects which comes out. And the mismatch comes out when we think about your problem, we think about our design methodology, and then we do analysis on that design methodology, and finally we're trying to conclude it. But when you read your own paper, and it has happened several times with me, that when I'm reading my own paper, I'm getting a conclusion only in the empirical full terms, if it is a quantitative paper. How this particular conclusion is going to help me as an infer with an outcome. Like my interest area is into e-commerce, into marketing, into CRM. So I'll have to see that in today's scenario in 2020, how it is bringing that kind of a robustness in my result. The result cannot only talk about that empirical data analytical format, and then you are coming out with some sort of a conclusion. Yeah. Also, three important factors needs to be seen here, and that is your impactful. What is the further academic research we can be or go beyond it? Because nothing is stoppable. Research is research. So you're going to try and bring it in another format of it. And similarly, whether it is a kind of a research conclusion or an outcome which can be adopted by the practitioner. So you can fragment it. One research it can be taken up further by some academic fraternity, and again it can be research. Clearly mention all these things into your final capitalization of your paper also. Also, when you're talking your adoption by practitioners, you need to be again clear that whether it is industry, whether it is a consultant, whether it is a society, whether it is some pool of people or consumer who are going to use this adoption, and it is going to beneficial with them, because we leave it. What we generally do, we finish with our conclusion, give a referencing, and that's it, and we are done with that. That won't countable ourselves for a high quality research paper. And if third is, as I said, many of us in today's scenario are getting really very much interested into public policy also, because huge amount of these policy driven papers are giving high weightage nowadays. So even if you're thinking that you have certain adoption to think about this public policy, I'm sure you should have the adoption proper methodology and a framework but designed from your side to bring it. So when I've put this first slide for all of you before even going for your research problem into high quality research, I've analyzed during a certain course of time that this is a need of an hour. It doesn't happen that the kind of pointers which used to happen earlier, that you have certain thought in your mind, you're doing a methodology for that thought, coming up with a conclusion and trying to actually publish it somewhere is enough. No, the demand is very high now, because even the you can see everyone has got this particular process of even publishing, and that has become mandate. Since it has become mandate, the competition is also high. So if the competition is high, the expectation with respect to high quality research is actually relevant in today's scenario, and we need to be really really focused enough to go through this step with relevancy, rigorousness, and of course impact. So that is the first thing I think we should take into consideration before we think or go for even our idea and so called even think out for our research problem. So with this particular dissemination as a starting point, as a starter, let's get inside some technicalities of how are you going into your research problem, and then see that what are tricks and tactics which you can use for even going into your research problem. So generalizing, this is a step of generalized research which comes everywhere. As a professor, every one of us know that you need to the first step identify your problem, go for literature. Now again, your literature review has got certain limitations and how to go beyond that will be dealt into your systematic review literature. Distilling the questions to a reachable problem, then continue with your review of literature, formulate your hypothesis, and you can see there is an arrow which has to be mapped in each and every level. There is no hard and fast rule that you have finished your first point and then go to the second one, finish your second point and go to the third one. No, not at all. We need to be smart enough into even follow a reverse engineering also. Many times for my paper, I do other way around. I have my data, I have my analysis, and then sometimes, of course, the problem is there in my mind. Without a problem, I cannot go with that particular step. But with that analysis, then I frame some of my particular initial. But this applies to only few methodology. It cannot go to each methodology. So you have to capitalize the steps of research according to your research problem and accordingly make a flow chart of it. But do not forget to actually make a flow chart at a very initial level. Even if you feel that the problem is clear in your mind and you want to start with a literature, not now, but you want to wait for it because you have certain empirical data which you are carrying it through in your classes, then the steps goes into backward. And there is no harm in it. There is no actually hard and fast rule that we can start with the number one and go to number 11 or 12. You can go into your reverse format as well. So in the steps of research, I have used various permutation and combination while doing my papers. Even for instruments also, variety of the time when we have seen that there are huge amount of, and I think this comes with everyone without stating, though we teach and we learn in this particular format. But when we apply in our particular research or in our life, then we see that this reverse format, this permutation and combination always works. My thought for each one of you is while you're going through this particular process with permutation and combination, start mapping it side by side. Do not leave it that yes, this was something which I did and I'm finished now. And or maybe I'm coming back, but then you forgot tomorrow that where did I started and where I'm coming back. So that is a very, very small thing to apply, but very, very important thing generally to keep always your particular documentation for it. That you thought of a problem, you dealt the problem in detail, and then you said, no, I may not need a literature because this is a very, very upcoming field and I'm clear about it. Let me come up with some kind of a data with a methodology. Please map it, put it down, all that into an arrow format, and when you have to come back and see now it is the time I'll have to go back and check some different sort of a literature because my variable has changed, my IDV with DV has changed, then you can come back and check your literature at this time. Again, I follow this as my tools and techniques and tricks, and you can say a methodology. And it has helped me many times in systematically carrying the research process. So when we are even stating this, the question comes, what is the research question? And how are we going to go in depth of this research question? What is the foundation of this process actually? So it all begins with a question. And when I say it all begins with a question, it comes in our mind every time, exactly what am I trying to find out? So for this, you always already have your certain interest area. You have your own specialization. You're clear about it. That I want to do my research in this specialization. That's perfectly fine. But in that specialization also, or in your interest areas also, which you have defined for yourself, what exactly is the question which you're trying to solve, or the word is actually not solve, to bring out certain outcome of that particular question. So when we are stating it, this is the most difficult portion of any research, finding a research question. And we feel that we have got certain area. Generally, what we do, we bring a similar paper to our paper. We start downloading that papers, and then we find after reading those papers that this can be my research question. Fine, this is one of the area. But as a researcher, professors, I would like to give you again this particular instinct that you should have a different approach and different thought of bringing your research question, because ultimately you are a teacher, you are a trainer, you are a mentor, and you should see that tomorrow if you are bringing an outcome into research which can be dealt into your classes, and when you are using your particular research areas into your classes, then you will feel so sufficing out here that here I am to bring an outcome for the society, and whatever portion you are teaching, that will also be shown that kind of a strength which you are actually bringing. So people find that it comes only with the case studies, that you are actually making a case and then you're bringing that case for the class, because that's a normal tenure here at Indian Institute of Management, but not necessarily that it's only a case study. I will suggest you all papers which are into your areas and we have bought some outcomes for it. It has to be utilized into your particular class. That's something where which is very important, and that's the point in finding a research question. You should actually hammer your mind to every level, to each and every portion of your thought process. So when I'm stating this, simply the conceptualize of this particular research question with this particular area has three mode. It is descriptive, relationship, and difference. So we have a descriptive question, we have a relationship question, and we have a difference question. So when we are stating this also with the level of our thought process into question and conceptualizing a research study, always ask these three questions before you are conceptualizing it. And that's a general phenomenon. Whosoever must be teaching research will be using this particular question framework into data analysis procedures too. So let's understand this. When we are stating this descriptive question, then it seeks to describe the phenomenon or characteristics of a particular group of subjects being studied. Like what? So when you're stating yourself, like you want to find out a question of what is it, and you're trying to already come out, or you're trying to bring out some kind of a conclusion about it in terms of solution, conclusion, inference, implication to the question of what, then the questions comes out to be descriptive. And generally, the methodology which we use for this particular is survey. Forget about the survey research methodology, but while thinking about your problem, the first thing which should come, what problem or what solution is going to bring out if you're going to create this research problem for your research area? What exactly is the outcome of it? That is the major question. Generally, what happens? We study CFA, we go for EFA, we know what is factor analysis, we know what is cluster analysis. We have applied this similar kind of a theory from one paper, reiterating for the different set of people and bringing a similar outcome. Now, what is similar outcome is sufficing the answer of what? That is your descriptive question. If you feel it is as same, or I know the answer as it is, that I am very clear about the answer, that the student, either it is in US or maybe in India, the kind of thought process for this particular digital methodology of teaching will be similar, then there is no need of getting this answer through your research. It will be a duplicacy of the similar thought process, and that won't be counted as in high level of research problem analysis. So when we're talking about this descriptive, do not also forget into your question in stating your relationship. Now, it's not the relationship with cause and effect into your methodology, but when you're stating your relationship, it only identifies the extent of relationship between certain variables. And when I'm saying certain variables, like the simple fundamental thing when you say that bringing a digital mode of teaching for students might actually have some effect onto their understanding. And you're trying to do a relationship among this and trying to bring out some kind of an inference with this particular relationship. But if you feel that this relationship with this variable, whether it's a dependent and independent variable, again doesn't suffices any kind of an investigation, then you have a question mark on your research question. And the third most important part while you're looking after here is difference of the question also. Now here comes a very important and interesting point. You need to seek to make comparison between or within the group of interest, and often it is associated with an experimental research. So when you are stating this, either you are talking about comparison with the level of interest into you have given some set of controlled experiment to the people, or previously the experiment was not done. Two different situation you're trying to compare here and bringing a difference out of that question. So three things, either descriptive or relationship or your difference or some combination of it. If these things are part of your question, then somewhere down the line, your research question or your problem has some suffices of your thought for your future research problem too. So once you're clear with these three major entities, let's see what are the major criteria you are actually looking for selecting a problem. One is the interest. And sometimes it does happen that we say that we have to publish our paper, forget about the interest. You need to see that the number of counting of papers are really, really important for it, and let's go for it. I do not agree to that. So for interest, the most important thing which you all feel is please work onto your area. That's really, really important. Something which you feel you're passionate about. That goes for those interesting point of concern. Similarly, third, think about your significance of your problem. So there is a theoretical value, a practical value, a timeliness, and external reviewer value too. And this is an added value which has come up very, very stringently nowadays. External review value we will describe more detail into when we'll talk about your systematic. But when I'm talking about your theoretical value and practical value, one is academic and one is of course in industry or to the society. So you have to see two particular constraints before you even select a problem. Are you going to bring some kind of a statement out of it actually in thinking of building a theory? You already have certain theory, or even if you do not have a theory, you can have your own conceptual model of it. But for that, your thought process should run and you should have some variables actually revolving in your mind all the time. But if you feel that that variables is not able to come or there are good amount of hindrances to that, then please stop at this moment. Rethink, revise, go back to some of the more learning processes, talk to experts, talk to various people, and then bring back your theoretical value inside that. When we also talk about your practical value, here comes your industry, your society, and everyone in picture. And the major problem comes with this practical value is, and combination of all that is time. Many times it does happen that you start thinking about your problem and later you say, oh my God, very difficult to conclude that within the span of time, whether you're doing your PhD in 3 years, that's number one, or you're trying to write your paper within a specific given time of 6 months to maybe 1 year. Very difficult because that's a huge amount of pain you have to go through to come out with some inference for this problem. Then, if it is a quite longitudinal work, you need to be again, very smart enough in selecting a problem. External review, we will come back. And of course, manageability is important. How much expertise are you into it? How much time would you be able to give and resources would you be able to give? There is good amount of, again, restrictions and hindrance of resources into various organizations. There are organizations which are giving you all the accesses, and you have got kind of a resource to do this research very easily. You can sit back, go for your problem churning. Like I'm lucky here that I have got all those resources, and very easily I can download whatever I'm looking forward for. Also, it has to be free from your personal bias. It should not be something which has happened in my life and I want to conclude my research with my particular personal bias. You can write a case study on it. No issue about it. But when you're thinking about your personal biasness, it cannot or any answer, because in throughout your journey, you will be then personally biased. At the end of it, if you want to bring certain answers of it, then also I'm sure you will be personal biased here. So let's not bring the terminology into your personal bias. All right. So this is some of the criteria we are thinking with respect to selecting a problem. I'll take a pause here because I want to see each one of you. And that's really important to understand that if you have any query at this point where you're here at the level of high level of research and the criteria of choosing your research, any one of you have any question, let's have a small 10 minutes discussion on this. Then I'll go to the next level of technicality. I think this is a platform where we can discuss as well, and an open discussion platform has been given.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good
This
morning.
is
Good
Dr.
morning.
Yeah, it's just a kind of discussion or feedback. It's not a query as such. As we were saying that, as you are suggesting that interest is the first thing which we have to look for when we are selecting our question. But many time it happens that the feasibility and practicality aspect comes in between. And you cannot select a topic where actually you are interested in. Like, for example, I completed my PhD in service quality of car passenger service station. But
Mm-hmm.
my first interest was to check the service quality of higher education in India. But then my university and my panel said it's a controversial topic, better to stay away from it. Right? So practically it was not possible. Then second choice was to have five-star hotel service quality. Then that also was having the feasibility problem. The feasibility problem is the required data is not available. Respondents' data will be confidential for five-star hotel customers, and they won't share all the information. So better to go for something which is feasible to do, which is practical to do, and the process we try and find out a topic where I can get data easily, where is no controversy is there, and I can get it published also, because it should be something which is in the market. Like, for example, it's a buzzword around, or where the good journals are accepting papers, or they are thinking to have something on this theme. So being having all this target, practicality and feasibility, do you really think that we can go with our interest?
Okay, Professor Niti, you have given me one answer while you were
I'm very
stating this.
sorry.
So,
My this Google thing is Niti Learning Studio, because I have one channel of that. My name is Dr. Trupti.
okay, yeah, that's what. So, Dr. Niti, that's what I stated. I started with Professor.
Trupti. Trupti.
Oh, okay, it's mentioning Niti here.
Yes,
Tripti,
that is
na?
what my Google account name is Niti Learning Studio. That's why it is
Oh,
coming
all
like that.
right, all right,
But
all
my
right.
name
So
is
you,
Trupti.
okay. So, Dr. Tripti, am I right now?
Correct. Thank you.
Oh, perfect. So, Dr. Tripti, while I think you have given one of the answer while we discussed about the feedback on your whole apprehension and timeliness of your choosing of your topic itself. Because you know what I said. One is interest. You start with your interest. Of course, as you're saying, your interest would be in service quality. Yeah, Dr. Niti?
Yeah, true.
Dr. Tripti, so service quality is your interest. I'm sure you must have used cervical model, or let's not get inside that,
Yes, yes.
or you must have you. I'm sure cervical model will never go even if you're talking
I
about this stuff.
actually modified a SURPUF model and created
Great.
my own new scale as per context.
Perfect. So that's a big thing. If you created your known scale, Parasumran doctor would be really happy because many researchers have tried to tweak his 21 items. So that's the best
Yes,
thing. Uh, but what I'm trying to again tell you is your interest was service quality. Yes, you wanted to do
yes,
something in services, right?
correct.
So that's an holistic picture. That's an holistic picture. It isn't that you came out from servicing and you came to a product. it didn't happen that you were now saying that no, I didn't want to go into service quality model and let me go for a new product development. Say, just an
No, see,
example.
what I will say, have like actual, I'm telling you my actual condition, how practically things won't happen. When I
Hmm.
came in higher education, I was working in industry after my MBA. And I was
Hmm.
working in industry, and then after wedding and all this, I thought, okay, I will go in higher education, academics. I started working in higher academics, and I was like, I was having a setback, feeling that this is not what I was looking for. Like there was no
Hmm.
challenges. The jobs are very routine kind of, and we are not doing something very good and all. Then I realized that what is the reason behind it? What things can actually improve the higher education as overall thing? And
Okay.
so you can say that my interest was higher education, and I thought that I will select something around it. So service was not my interest. My interest was one domain, but now that domain I have to leave completely because it was a controversial thing. And universities and things and higher education don't want to go into that detail. So I thought, okay, then as my topic was service quality of higher education, I took that services in my account and service quality of something else I started with. That's how
Hmm.
it happened.
Hmm. So that is a scenario which you're giving me, which has happened with you. Necessarily, not necessarily, it doesn't happen with all of us, to be very honest. Okay, Dr. Tripti, it depends.
Yeah,
And
true, true,
when
very
I'm
true.
seeing this biasness also come, that's an irony in India. And that irony is, I can understand that irony is moving very well. And that irony is in between you and your PhD guide, or again, it depends on the system where you are doing your PhD from. All right. Let's not get inside that, but I'm still saying that that was your personal biasness which happened. You had certain thought. It didn't. I'm sure most of us must have gone through this phase. It could have happened with us, no doubt about that. But question doesn't actually stop you to get inside your real research. It isn't that you have done your PhD and you're over. After that, you're not doing any more research out here. Whether it is mandate, whether it is not mandate. The question arises, you are a researcher. And if you are a researcher and if you want to bring truth, something into your particular domain or into your concern, I don't think for further writing your paper, anybody will stop you. Dr. Tripti?
That's true.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
think there is no, when
The
I'm giving you,
controversial, no, the controversial thing, maybe we can do it later. But also practicality and feasibility of availability of data and our target, maybe the annual publication we required. We want a publication in a specific journal, and that journal is looking for a specific theme.
look,
Kind
that
of.
is what I stopped you here with the level of reviewer. Yes, when I'm saying here reviewer, maybe at the time of our PhD scholars who are listening to me will state about with their guide or with their system. Okay, so that constraint is definitely there. But despite of that, my humble suggestion is your passion should not go over. Your passion should be carried in terms of either you have finished your PhD and now you feel that yes, there was some hindrances, let me bring back my passion, go for particular research. You know, what we are discussing here is, of course, feasibility in terms of publishing. And when we talk about research endpoint cannot be, or it is not only publishing. Your Bloom taxonomy always states you that there are levels where you need to go beyond and you need to come up at a higher peak. And when I'm saying at a higher peak, as a teacher, what are we giving to our students? We are giving to our students max to max as an application level. And when I'm saying application level, the students are bringing some, and you're bringing some case study, disseminating that case study in your format to inside the classroom, and your students are getting some kind of a knowledge and bringing it back. But where is the creation here in India? Are we bringing some sort of a creation with our students? No, we are lacking in that creation. The reason being because we ourselves is not trying to bring that for our classes or for our perspective. So our my discussion thought process here was with respect to your interest was, and anyhow, whenever we are also telling to any of the student, your scholar, or even to maybe in our classes, we talk about is an interest. Your feasibility, your situation, your circumstances will come in processes. That, as I said, timeliness will also come into your processes, but never ever go off from your interest, at least your particular area. So you'll have to see that which particular domain are you into, where you want to make your niche into. When I'm saying niche, You'll have to showcase a different niche for yourself and for the society, where the society you can bring your own creations out there. So you might say that, that sounds very impractical sometimes because of the situation. As I started also being a teacher, we have got multiple facets of thing, and there is a danda now, and the danda comes out to be with publishing. But forget about all that thing. Without that particular aspect, you still need to go with your interest. Let's not lose that interest into our interest. Anyone else have any question here? That is a good discussion. Thank you, Dr. Tripti.
Yeah, thank you, madam. Hopefully, we will be able to do things with our interest and
Please.
at the same time achieve our targets also.
Absolutely.
Thank
Absolutely. Yeah. Anyone else? Okay. So if we are not having any more questions at the very beginning, and if you see that yes, we are going for it, then let's distill your problem. And with this distillation of your research problem, the major things which comes here is refining the question or idea into a problem and making it sufficiently specific so that it is amenable to the investigation. Also, this process should lead to the development of a statement of the problem that is clear, concise, and definitive. So this is a normal way of how do you do a distillation of your problem. Now, please come to again your higher level of your research and bringing your problem inside that. Now, this is something which we are supposed to think now into a different direction. The level of researchers are looking forward for some empirical models and their overview. They're also stating that if you're showcasing some mathematical representation of a phenomenon into your problem, then we can say that your particular model or your research is going fine. And there are three major things which comes inside that: descriptive, predictive, and normative. So you're focused on describing and explaining a typical econometric things. I mean, you're trying to describe and explain. I mean, with the graph, say whether it is an elastic, but with the reasonable thought process of the data, then you're descriptive. Predictive is going really great, and my humble request to each one of us is like now we need to see our research problem towards even predictive analysis because this is a need of an hour, as we have seen that suddenly we have moved from, of course, your F to F, and thanks to our COVID, where we have gone to this statement of teaching online, whether we want it, whether we do not want it, but this blended has come up, and I'm sure this is something which is going to sustain for a good amount of time. So here we're going to see how are you going to focus on predicting your future outcome, and machine learning is again an important tool to be seen in while thinking about your research problem. And you might say that, I mean, not necessarily that I'm good in machine learning. Perfectly fine. If you have certain level of your output into this particular machine learning, you're not the only one that who will be sufficing and finishing your whole particular research. You will have to be in collaborative with some other fellow member who is good into this predictive analysis, and there you can bring some kind of an empirical models or an overview. And the third is, of course, the normative. This is a focus on what should be done. So, like optimization, game theory, and the analytical analysis. So, again, when you're thinking about your problem, associate your problem with your normative focus as well. Choosability is all yours. Where you want to be a descriptor while choosing your problem, where you want to be a predictive analyzer while choosing your problem, or you want to be a normator with a level of optimization. But an empirical model has to be there in your mind while you're going into the next level after you have gone inside of your problem formula. Now the aspects is simple, your dependent variable and independent variable, some functional form, some face validity, diagnostic value, and alternative models has to be chosen. So why I'm stating this in between, because this is the need which is coming slowly and slowly, and we are also evolving ourselves. Earlier, as just we have discussed with Dr. Tripti, that cervical model, we have gone with new scalability into cervical model. Say if I was trying to bring something, an important performance matrix also in service industry, then slowly and slowly we are moving beyond from different structure of industry and then coming to a structure where we can feel that the models has to be evolved. Those normative models which was being used earlier into our research problems will not suffice us to be get actually printed into good or published into good ABDC papers out here. So this is something very important while you're also looking after for your research problem. So when we are going through with this model, then have a strong research issue, strong idea and a strong question, which is going to sufficize your proper methodological skills and the issues out here. Now, how will you go to do that and how are you actually bringing it? The future models will talk about your causal, your machine learning, your structural, and some of the combined models which you are going to bring out. Now, for this particular aspect, I'm trying to bring you to the reverse functioning of how to go with research problem by understanding these particular models and then mapping it together. So guys, when
Ma'am, I
you are,
have a question.
sure, sure.
Ma'am, you're talking about descriptive analysis and predictive analysis.
Yeah.
What about prescriptive analysis?
Even prescriptive analysis is something which is actually going great in today's, but I'm specifically bringing with predictive because when you're talking about prescriptive, this is a combination of both the analysis. That is also one of the methodology which you can use. But my area core is, of course, into your marketing and analytics with information system. So generally, these are the things in the area which can be used. Otherwise, prescriptive is also the something which you can really go great about.
But in
So
market, I guess we can also apply the prescriptive analysis because
yeah,
we
doctor,
don't.
could you? That's the best thing that you're stating here. Could you just state that what is the kind of analysis you have used prescriptive? I mean,
Prescriptive type of.
every one of us will be really getting an help out here. Please go ahead.
For example, if we are talking about this time, the pandemic situation has been came, right? All are dependent on IoT and other
Can I
stuff.
see you?
Yeah, you can.
It's always good
Yeah,
in a digital mode. When we are coming this kind of in face to face, it looks good. Yes.
yeah, ma'am.
Please go ahead.
So, if we are talking about the IoT and the IT paradigm that is
Right.
changing for near about 1 decade, so we are relying on the smart devices. So, these type of devices, if you're talking about the industry perspective, which type of devices will need in the upcoming future? If next pandemic came, how we can tackle it previously? So, meanwhile, we can use such type of RFID tag and other tag that is associated with our health record that will be beneficial for us. This is the one solution that I'm telling. So that
Mm-hmm.
comes a prescriptive analysis. How?
No.
Because we know that how what the people wants and what the outcome will. Because the prescriptive analysis that I have seen that how can make it possible that the particular thing that prescriptive analysis told. So we can apply it for the future welfare. For example, we all are using a cell phone, right, ma'am?
Right. Go ahead. Hmm.
If we tag some RFID with that particular device, when you are buying it, register with your health record, that will be beneficial for the government to make up policies. And the all data will be on a cloud, so government have not worry about what situation will they are going to face. Like this time, the people are telling that how the vaccination will be done. The people, I'm just talking about the this
Take
type
one
of.
example. I would be more interested if you take one example.
Okay, fine. So if we are tackling some type of situation, then we have to be specific. The combination of both the prescriptive and descriptive analysis. The description we have what the pandemic situation is, and the predictive analysis what will going to happen in the upcoming future. Maybe there is a new virus will be came and how we will survive on that. So that's
Hmm.
why I'm that the market and the industry should think about the prescriptive analysis, and that would be a great achievement for the Indian perspective, not for Indian, it's all over the world, I
Okay,
guess.
sure. Thank you so much for bringing it. But I would like to again, you defragment whatever you said because you said multiple things out here, you know. And in research, that's an irony. We are not. We are very specific into your research. I mean, if you're making your PhD, you have a holistic topic, your chapterization is there, perfectly fine. But despite of that, you have one zone and thought. So when you have one zone and thought, that there comes your research question. What exactly is your question? And what is the outcome you're trying to find out for a solution to the society? Can you give me just one liner for both? What is your really research question or any research problem? Okay. And what is the outcome you're trying to bring for the society? Let's
Suppose,
not bring multiple things,
okay,
multiple
fine,
pieces. Yes.
fine. And I'm summarize it on a single note that
Sure. Sure.
how we can tackle, how we can build a device that can be beneficial for upcoming pandemic. This is my problem domain.
Okay. How you can
How
bring
can
a
we make a device like a smart
Mhm.
that have a functionality of dealing with this type of pandemic situation? So
Okay.
problem domain. Suppose
Hmm.
how we
So
can
is this the research question or your one of your objectives?
is it the objective? I guess.
Yes.
Is
Here
it
comes the difference.
okay?
Okay, here comes
Mhm.
a major difference between your research question or a research
Mhm.
problem and one of your inside your holistic research question and outcome of it, what you're summarizing. The
Okay.
problem here could be when you're saying you want to see that we do not have a proper technological enhancement to understand the COVID situation right now, other than Arogya Setu. Are you going to? I mean, we have got one, two, or multi-phases. Here comes here comes a question mark with that particular aspect. You know, when I yeah, any one of you want to add on something here? It's an interesting thing to understand how to make a research problem. Because what's your name? Shwet Ketu,
Yes.
Professor?
With
Yeah.
Shwet Ketu.
Shwet Ketu has given a statement, and that statement is talking about a technological enhancement with respect to the situation which we are into. But would that be counted as a research question? Or is that a research problem? Any one of you? All my professors out here, I'm sure. Okay, Shwet. So the answer to this can be an objective. Okay, but this is actually not the research question or the research problem. You will have to always a problem has to be unto an upper higher end level. Methodology is your freedom as a moderator. Nobody will come in. You can have a mixed methodology, but my question, which I was stating and trying to tell was if you're trying to bring a methodology which is giving you only a solution which is normative, that is on the desk, all right, then that is not a research. Then that is not a research. But if your methodology, say for example, if you're trying to bring a particular software and that software somewhere down the line is going to those policymakers to help and subsidize the whole country into some aspect in changing the policy, then it can be a research. Then it can be a research. Otherwise,
Ma'am,
all, yeah,
what objective I have, that is a particular making a device. That is not
okay.
up to making the device. That is
Hmm.
with the algorithmic perspective as well as the the manufacturing industry perspective. That is a combination of both.
Shwet,
Because
what we will do is because I'm going to give you a small task also in making your own research problem. And that will
okay,
be the best thing when I will be talking and discussing about it that how are you actually bringing it? Because we have other pool of professors out here also. And that will be an individual discussion which I will come and I will make you
fine,
understand that how to
fine,
bring that.
fine.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
thank you, thank you.
Thank you. So anyone else has any query, any questions out here other than Shwet? I think perfect. Let's go to the next level when you are clear about your particular aspect. Are you able to see the screen or not?
Your screen is visible to us.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So when we are actually moving ahead with the proposals of your question, and that's what Swet, I was here to actually come in. And here I was talking about your evaluation of your proposal also. What is the interesting and unexplored or underexplored or unexplained or underexplained phenomenon or problem that your proposal is about, your question is about? So, Fred, this is for you as well. That you need to see, you're thinking about certain objective, but in a holistic view, you need to see that what is something which has not been explored till date, or something already been explored, but you have a different set of situation to be again go for that particular phenomenon. Then that can be counted as your, of course, research question, and will come into your proposal evaluation also. What is the problem important from your theoretical, methodological, managerial, or substantive standpoints, which I think already we had a clarification when we are stating it, then we need to go into deeper dive and an understanding of it, that what is the theory you're going to make for it, what all methodology are you going to bring, because as said by one of the professor out here, that if you feel that there is a binding effect, and that binding effect is not going to give you that kind of an answer, then here comes a question mark for you to go ahead with your particular proposal. Many times it has come up that yes, you have thought of certain publishing of the paper, and after your desk review, it is being accepted, but huge amount of reviewer comments where you are also not very contented with it comes to a point. And it has been said normally to all of us, पंगा मत लेना रिव्यूअर के साथ, जो आपको बोला गया है चुपचाप करना. Sometimes I do not agree with that. It again depends if you feel that yes, there are some standpoints where you feel that I have a different thought, and maybe the biasness is there. In a very humble way, we can write it and we can even present that also. What do we know about the answer to this problem from the literature or past research? If already known answer is there, there is a question mark. I mean, too much. If the literature has got the suffices amount of your proposal to be taken into theoretical model, and then you can bring your particular scalability, then please go ahead with it and bring something new to bring out of it. And what we do not know about the answer to this problem is, of course, the gaps in research. That's generally we are talking and we are discussing here. I'm pretty sure it comes with every one of us while we are talking about a research question. We do not bring a real research question. We actually do not bring a real research question. What we do is we bring some literature, we read some literature, and we try to copy or imitate the similar thing, and we say, oh, this is happening. This is a similar situation. Let's write out the same problem again, and I'm sure that will be my research problem. It happens as a writer with all of us. But exactly that's not the real research problem. That's a major gap in research. Similarly, what is the focus of your research? I mean, how are you trying to move with your specific research question is also very important to bring into your proposal evaluation. And this is what we see when we are actually going through or reading your proposal evaluation here. So when we are actually looking after that, we see sometimes that your evaluation of your research question has got certain what effects, certain cause effects, certain relationship effect, but a specificity with an outcome is missing. A specificity which is going to have an implication is missing. And that's one of the reasons it also gets rejected many times. And how do you plan to investigate the problem? That is again your timeliness and of course your binding strategy. So, my thought is when we are actually trying to bring this particular sort into your research problem, stating or a process of research problem is very easy. You have certain pointers to think. But when we go into deeper dive of it, when we actually try to understand that, then it's not as easy as we are thinking. Then it's the most typical portion of any research. And look at it, if you are having a proper research problem in your hand, your gadi is on. Then here you are that you can actually move beyond and you can bring something where you are actually bringing in. So initially, the thought process was like you have certain kind of a methodological scalability which was being given most important. But slowly and slowly, something which has been given most important is the real research problem. And if you're bringing a real research problem into your evaluation, here comes your maximum number of chances that it will be accepted. Now, when we are also talking about your theory, then in your evaluation problem, what is your framework of your theory? What is your model of your theory? Even think about that when you are actually going into journey of making your research problem and writing down that particular research problem. Also think about, do you have any hypothesis, any predictions, any expectations towards it? That all could be also mentioned in that. So, that's a normal culture which we do, but what we forget is that we try to bring all the literature together, try to bring our research question from there, and then go ahead with our journey directly. That give you half of the journey. That doesn't give you the fullest of the fullest journey. When you are actually here with your proper thought at a very initial framework, that will help you to go for your journey. Also, are the proposed data relevant and interesting? Because in implication, ultimately you have to bring that. Again, are the proposed analysis very appropriately and correctly done? Do you feel, would you be able to, if you're confused at a very beginning that I'm not too sure about it, though you have a mentor, you have a guide to help you, but despite of that, your 25 to 30% of the journey should have been concluded at this stage only. Well, you are clear with your problem here. How will the result of your research contribute to methodology, theory, or managerial practice? Check that. There is a check element which has to be there. And of course, whether your proposal feasible. Very rightly discussed right now. If you feel that there is a binding and hindrance with the level of your feasibility, there also comes a question mark. Then yes, there you need to retreat yourself, go back and think, and then come back to your new research problem, or maybe a kind of a string research out of your holistic research you're thinking about. So this is some of the suggested things which I'm expecting from each one of you at a very initial level to actually bring in for yourself. And that is, what is the motivation or the issue which actually you have chosen for this particular topic? If you have some topic in your mind or you want to do something. So what is that particular research topic motivation where you are actually going to bring that? Do you have certain research, and what are the research questions which can come out with that? What do we already know the existing research? I mean, difficult at this moment to go into deeper, but think when you're doing into your proposal and presenting at the time of your DRC or at the time of writing your papers in, or you're discussing among each other. These are the key pointers you should keep into your mind. What is the proposed contribution towards this particular research? What is the theory development, hypothesis, predictions, and proposition? Any empirical model, or you're proposing that empirical model, or some proposed data. Answers to anticipated research questions should be there in your mind. Some sort of answers you must have already framed at this stage. And the last, very important, has to be your managerial implication. So, guys, generally what happened when we start our journey, when we think with that particular aspect, that in this particular journey, we have certain statement for our research problem. And if it is certain statement for our research problem, we are good enough into that particular and we move into our journey. We do not see this aspect while we are actually framing our research problem. So that's what my situation is, that I always frame this particular, or I always tell my students to frame this particular problems statement with these answers at the time of proposal only, so that they are clear that how they are going to move towards their research problem. If any one of you have any more ideas at the time of research problem or disseminating the problem of the question of the research, you can go ahead and give me here. Before I move ahead. Any one of you? Yes? As I said, we all are professors. We are here and we are here to discuss. So if you feel that yes, there is something which you can bring in into this particular fraternity, it is always welcome. None of you? Okay, so if you feel that maybe you're very clear or you've been doing it from years and you are actually making it, so my next part would be, before I move to the application of it in crafting it, I would suggest each one of you to go to this slide. Please, you need to choose a topic, some research questions out of it, initial, any existing knowledge if you have, any proposed contribution you want to, theory development or key hypothesis if you can frame, a proposed empirical model, in short, if even if it is not there, it's perfectly fine. a proposed data which you want to bring it, and I'll be more interested into managerial implications. Vaishali, are you here, Professor?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm giving 15 minutes time to each participant to come back and at least give this initial framework of their proposal with proper research question. I'll be more interested into point number 2 and we will resume after 15 minutes. Is that
Okay,
fine?
ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. So 11:15, close to 11:15, I would like each one of you in a small page. Try. You want my presentation again? You want the slide to be seen? All of you? Professors, you want the slide?
Participants, please respond.
Yes, ma'am, you can share as a reference point to complete all the files.
Thank you. Can you see?
Trupti, yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Trupti.
No, ma'am, your slide is not visible here.
Not visible. One second. Just a minute. Is it visible now?
Not visible, ma'am. Yes, it is.
Yes, now visible.
Thank you. So I think we'll resume. We'll come back at close to 11:17. I've given you around 15 minutes time. And let me see that what are you bringing on our table, all of you. Welcome, professors. Hope every one of you doing it.
Yes, ma'am, in progress.
Can I get an answer from any one of you, please?
Yes, madam, it is in progress.
Thank you so much. Sharing you the slide once more because the evaluation will be on the basis. Hopefully the slide is also visible.
Yes, madam, it's visible.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary.